Hello, everyone. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism.
Here we go.
Hey, everyone. We're glad you found us and that you could join us today for our podcast. We did have a different topic all prepared, and then we got some surprising news last week. So the headline has changed, and this is going to be an episode about Bryce's recent EEG results, which showed some abnormal activity, showing that he's having some seizures. So, as you can imagine, our world got flipped upside down a little bit this week because we really weren't expecting it, were we, babe?
No, I was just getting into the truck with Bryce when the nurse called, and she says, "I'm calling you about Bryce's results." And I said, "Okay." And she said his results came back abnormal. And I was really floored because I was not expecting it at all. And so she began to tell me about what they found. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm scrambling for a pen and paper in the truck. And
I didn't know you were in the truck.
I had her on speaker. And
so Bryce heard all of it too?
He was playing his game, so I don't think he heard it at all.
Okay.
So he was oblivious to the conversation.
At least he didn't ask you about it?
No,
okay.
he was not checked in.
Good.
So she began to tell me about it, and I'm scribbling everything down, and she said that the activity that they saw was in his right temporal lobe, which is not the place where he had his brain bleed previously. That was in his occipital lobe. So that was another blow.
That was a shocker for me. Yeah.
I was doubly not expecting that. And so we got home and we're trying to do school, and I'm obviously upset, and Bryce is like, "Why are you sad, Daddy?"
Oh.
And I couldn't tell him, and I just had to get over it and move on with school, and we did, and it went fine from there.
Yeah, and then I came home and I was wondering, if you had gotten any news, because really this call came on Thursday, and the test was Monday and ended very early on Tuesday. And when I say very early, I'm talking like 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday. And we got finished with that, and as we were leaving, one of the ladies there at the office said, "Oh, you should hear from the doctor today with the results. He'll call you later today." So I'm like, okay, great. And when we had his earlier EEG for the 1 hour, I think they did call like the same day or the next day.
I think.
And it was like, no big deal, no issues, which I was expecting that because I didn't expect him to find anything in an hour. But he didn't call that day, and I thought, well, okay, well, they'll call tomorrow. But then when Wednesday came and went and we didn't hear from them, I had asked you Wednesday night. I'm like, it's kind of odd that they didn't call us. So that was making me a little uneasy. Just, again, maybe one of those instincts.
I'm thinking no news is good news.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I don't know. That's kind of odd. Maybe he had to take more time to read it. Maybe he went back and looked at Bryce's history now that something popped up and he needs more answers, right? That's kind of what was going through my mind. But I just said, would you please call them in the morning and find out what's going on? Mm-hmm. And then I think we tried to call before I left for work on Thursday morning, and then they transferred you, and then we got our voicemail. And I'm like, all right, I have to go because I was already staying a little later to get that information. So when I got home, and I didn't hear from you, and thought I would, and the only thing you sent me was, would you like to do the call virtually or in person? And
the follow-up.
The follow-up. And I'm like, virtually should be fine for this. And that was it. So my work day, my mind is occupied with work until I get home. And then when I got home, we're sitting there and I'm like, so did you hear? And you're just like, okay, but you're like, I've been holding this in all day. I didn't want to ruin your day. And then when you said they did find abnormal activity, I was like, okay. And then when you said it was in a different area, that's really when my stomach sank and my heart hurt.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't expecting that. I really was expecting that they might still see some of the spiking activity in the original area of the bleed. But I did have some instincts that we should do this, and I'm so glad I did. Because people were saying, why? I've had a few friends say, well, why did you do it? Did you see something? What's going on? I'm like, no, but I just feel that with Bryce's history, it would be foolish on our part to not just see what's going on in there. It's been a long time.
Like you said, it was one of the first things that our new autism doctor said, we need to look in there.
I felt like it was great that he supported what I had been thinking.
He says, I'm putting you on these supplements, and I don't want one of these supplements to cause so much brain activity that he has a seizure.
Right.
So, he wanted us to do an EEG. He wanted us to do a new MRI. He says, we got to look at it and see what's going on in there. It's been a long time, and we need to see what's going on.
And I'm sitting there nodding my head like, yes, this is what I've been saying. And we'd actually had asked Bryce's neurologist that had taken care of Bryce since he was a baby. I had asked him last time we saw him if he felt it would be beneficial.
For an MRI.
He really, for an MRI. And he really didn't see the need. And I'm like, well, maybe it's time for us to get a fresh perspective because Bryce is 8. His brain has developed a lot in 8 years. And then I also do know that when someone is diagnosed with autism, their risk of seizures is higher. And I've read that, and I've read it's even as they get older, because as the brain develops, especially as you enter into puberty, that's when the seizures can start to trigger. So it's always been in the back of my mind. But I think we've talked before, like, did we actually see anything? Probably we've had questions among ourselves when we see him sleeping, because he's a very, very restless sleeper and he twitches a lot. And he's a good sleeper in the sense that he doesn't wake up during the night and he sleeps for long hours very, very well.
Now I'm wondering, is that twitching? Is that the seizures? I don't know.
Right, we don't know.
That's how we know Bryce is asleep, is like when we lay down with him at night to help him go to sleep.
You feel him.
He's sleeping when he just starts to twitch. And I'm like, oh,
it's true.
He's dreaming.
It's true.
And I can go to bed now. So
yeah, we know he's asleep. Okay. And he falls asleep very quickly and very easily. Always has. And but I know when we went to see the new neurologist and we mentioned the concerns of the sleep, I saw his eyebrows go up at that point.
When we mentioned that,
He did. His eyebrows shot right up and he's like, okay, let's do a sleep study.
Up to that point, I don't know that he was convinced to do it, even though we were requesting it. But once he said, well, how's he sleeping? And then we said, well,
that was the flag.
He's a restless sleeper. And I don't even know if we mentioned the twitching, but then he was like, okay.
He was 100% on board then.
Let's do that.
Let's do it. Yeah. So we did. And I'm glad we did.
I'm glad we did.
We're talking about this now, and you immediately try to find, that's me. I try to find the positives in this. And I'm like, well, to me, I'm glad that we did this, and we did it now before we were seeing signs and then trying to figure out why something was happening. It's much better to find out now.
The EEG we did 4 years ago, we did because he had these episodes during the day where he would just be staring off into space and not answering us when we asked him questions. Well, fast forward to now, he still does that, but now we understand that he's thinking about something because he tells us.
Right.
We'll say, what are you thinking about? Oh, I'm thinking about Luigi's Mansion 3. Or,
right, he can tell us.
So he's just, when he's looking off in the distance, he's just thinking.
Yeah, and 4 years ago when we did it, one of his therapists, she swore that he had a seizure with her and said she had been doing this for 20 years. And
it was a 20-minute seizure.
And she said it was a 20-minute seizure. And I remember that. I'm like, why in the heck didn't you call 911 if he was having a 20 and call me after? But it was still enough that we pursued it.
Oh,
yeah, baby.
What's up, buddy?
What time am I going to be done with Michael?
I don't know.
At about 4 o'clock, because that's when Mommy has to leave.
Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have fun. Close the door, please.
I want to just play with him some more.
Do you want to play longer?
Because I want him to play Luigi's Mansion, but the download's not complete.
Oh, you can
it's not
still
complete
play.
yet.
Yeah, you can still play with him. No worries. It's Sunday, so you
Yeah.
got lots of time.
We'll play more.
You can play later. Don't cry.
Because
It's okay.
4 o'clock.
You can play till 5 o'clock. Okay?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, just close our door. We'll figure it out.
that's great.
Okay.
What time are you leaving?
I'm leaving around 4, but it's okay.
Can I?
And you
leave
can
your
still
phone
play.
here?
Yeah, I'll leave my phone here. Okay?
What are you gonna do at 4 o'clock?
I'm going to a Bible study at Aunt Bridget's.
Oh.
Okay? All right, honey. Close the door, please.
Can you close the door?
Thank
Thanks.
you.
So I want to play with Michael.
I
a
know
lot,
you do.
too.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, he's waiting for you. So sweet.
So you can hear how much he's talking now, which we're just so blessed for
Yes.
that. And that's the exciting part of this journey.
It is. And you can hear his anxiety because he's playing with his friend using my cell phone and he knows I have to leave and he doesn't want my phone to leave.
Right, with you.
Yeah, with me and him not being able to play with his
Yeah.
friend. So, but that's a beautiful thing. He can come in, he can express that, we can talk through it.
And it's not a meltdown.
It's so much better. So that's the whole thing with this surprise of the seizures is I'm like, he is flourishing right now. And when I say
There's a helicopter going over our house. Okay.
rattling our window.
Yes.
Anyway, when I say flourishing, I just mean his language. He is using so many more new words. He's
Descriptive
using,
words.
yeah, descriptive words, just more engaged, fast responses, not spacing out nearly as much. At therapy, every time I pick him up, it's still like every time they're so happy with how well he's doing. And it used to always be, he wasn't with us half the time, but he came in and he's just been doing so well. So that's a blessing that in spite of these seizures happening,
He's still making
he's
progress.
still making progress, and we're grateful for that. We just want that to continue, and we don't know if this is something that's very new. That's the thing. We have no idea if this is very new or if this has been happening. We just know we have a baseline now that it happened this one night. What else is going on, and we'll be getting answers.
So this is for the people out there. We probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, but an EEG is where they put 22 electrical leads on you. They glue 21 to your head and one goes to your heart on your skin. So they monitor the electrical activity from your brain through those leads, and then they also monitor the heart rate. And so that goes into a machine that records it all, and they can see things by looking at the waveforms on the machine to know if it's abnormal or not.
Yeah. I remember when he was a baby, that first week we were at Miami Children's, and we're standing there, and of course he was all hooked up, and we're looking at the machine, and the neurologist saying, right there, he just had a seizure. And we're like, he did? And we look at the machine, it happened again. He goes, he just had another seizure. It's like, wow. I mean, that we had no idea, and we wouldn't have known it because looking at him, he was just laying there peacefully. We would have had no idea.
He doesn't get the classic grandma seizures, they call them, where you curl up into a ball and you're shaking.
Yeah.
So it's just happening in his brain.
But yet damage is happening, and we
it
know
could be
that.
his twitching. I don't know. We're going to find out more when.
Yeah, we'll get more answers, and we'll share those because that's what we do. We share our journey.
And I have a list of questions for the doctor, and you know me, I'm hoping and praying that we can get around this seizure activity, getting to the root cause of it.
Sure.
Without putting the Band-Aid of a prescription drug on it.
I know.
So I'm hoping that we can do that. We'll see.
Yep. So,
I mean, modern medicine is great, and it will nip it in the bud, hopefully pretty quickly. But I'd really like to get to the bottom root cause of it.
well, sure, so that the end goal would be that he doesn't have to take medicine.
Right.
And now, this was a discussion we had with his original neurologist was we weigh
There's side
the
effects.
medication
Yeah.
to not giving it to
Right.
him because it's not something you want to give unless you absolutely need to.
Right.
And yet, if you don't, and you're having the seizures, that's not good either.
Right. So you're going to say, okay, prescription medicine, it's going to slow the brain activity down. Is it probably going to slow the whole brain down? Is it going to slow it down enough
We
to
don't
where
know.
he's going to have problems learning?
I'm sure
I don't know.
It's
So
different
those
for
are the
each
questions.
person, and also not everybody responds to seizure medication.
That's right. There's a
So-
big possibility that the medication won't even work.
We were blessed that Bryce responded to what he was given when he was a baby.
Yes.
Because I was telling you, there was another baby next to him in the NICU. They were trying every kind of medication, and that sweet baby was seizing every day.
Yeah.
Every day that we were there.
Yeah.
He did not get better. Bryce responded right away. We gave it to him day and night for 2 years. And we felt like we would be able to wean him off because we could see how much progress. In worst case, we're like, well, what would be the worst case if we took him off?
Right.
Well, I mean, what would be the worst case? And he said, well, I said, if he had a seizure, would he know? And he's like, no, you would know, but he wouldn't know. And I said, okay. And then we could put him back on the medicine. And he goes, yeah, but he might not respond to it. I said, and what's the percentage of that? And he goes, well, there's a 20% chance that he won't respond to it. I said, so there's an 80% chance that he will.
Right.
Yes? Yes.
Right.
Then we're willing to try it.
Yeah.
And so we did. And for 6 years, we haven't had to give it
We've
to
been
him.
good.
And that's
Yeah.
wonderful. But now we're having to revisit this. So our brains have been processing this. Our hearts have been processing this. And if you've listened to our podcast at all, you will know that we are Christians and we have leaned on God to get us to this point in our lives. And we have needed God a lot to help us in our parenting journey with everything that's happened with Bryce. And I know Bryce was in here earlier and I mentioned I'm going to a Bible study, and God has called me to go to 2 Bible studies. And I would tell you, our schedules are very busy. And like anybody, I'm trying to look at my time and manage it best. But I was even like, do I really need to go to 2? I mean, maybe I should just go to 1. And I really felt being nudged by the Holy Spirit. No, you need to go to both. So I had even chosen for this other study that I'm going to on Wednesday nights that started this past Wednesday, the day before we got this news. We had a choice between the book of Job and the book of Mark. And I thought, I'd like to do Mark. I really like to learn more about the life of Jesus because I feel like he's my role model, and I like that. And I feel like, and I was even thinking, I feel like I've already kind of been there and done that with Job with all that I've gone through. And I feel like I'm in a good place and I've handled this well, right? I mean, that's what was going through my mind.
Yep.
And then I got the invite and they went with the book of Job. So I'm like, okay. But
And then we got the news the next day.
the next day. And
Yeah.
that Wednesday night, I listened to the first lesson and it was talking about with Job, he was a good man. I mean, it says clearly he was a good man. He was a good man that everybody liked him. He prayed for his children every day. God had blessed him, with wealth and health and a family and all of those things. And then God allowed trials to come to Job, and God allowed that to happen. And the perspective shift is when you're chosen for a trial, and believe me, autism and being parent of a child with autism, that's a trial for sure. And now having a child, which we've had from the beginning before autism, having a child with seizures, that's a trial, right? So we've dealt with both of these, but it's not being punished. It's being promoted. You're being promoted when you're chosen by God to handle a situation like this, because if you do it right, you can bring honor and glory to him through your situation and through what he's chosen you to be a part of. And I thought, yeah, that's really good perspective there, that, okay, we've been promoted to this, not being punished. Not that I've ever really felt like we were being punished, but there were days that you're like, why me, Lord? Why us, Lord? And I have been called to write a book, and we really hadn't shared that on here, but I'm in the 3rd chapter. I knew with this study, I'm like, well, maybe this study's going to help me with my book, right? So I went and I'm like, okay, well, this was good. And then Thursday I get that news and I'm like, wow, okay, Lord, you're taking me through this because you are bringing me right back to the first square, which having a baby with seizures and dealing with those special needs. And now my baby is having seizures again, and it's in a different area, and it's a whole different thing that I was not expecting at all. How am I going to handle this? And how am I going to get through this? And how am I going to live my life that this is going to bring God glory through it? I'm glad that I'm going to be in this study. I'm glad I'm going to be with some other ladies that I can share with and that I can learn from. And then the Bible study that I'm going through tonight is one that one of my best friends was just called to do. And I will tell you, Sundays is my day. It's our family day. We go to church. I don't normally make plans on a Sunday, but I told you, I really feel like I'm supposed to do this one. And it's in every other Sunday through May. I feel like I'm supposed to do it. She said there were going to be spiritual mentors for us. And I said, I've been wanting that. I think I'm going to need this, having no idea what was lying ahead for me, but God knew. And so I'm really excited in one hand to see what he's going to do through this because I know his hand is in it. While the other part of me obviously isn't excited. I'm kind of dreading to see what all is going to happen and what all we're going to have to go through. So it's a delicate balance, but I'm really just putting my faith and trust in God. Keeping it real here. I'm concerned about you. And that was one of the first things I said to my mom. My mom asked me first, how's Chris handling this? We have an extra concern because we've also been very vulnerable and open on this podcast that you struggled with the depression with Bryce. And I just don't want that to happen again. So there's a lot of, but we got to keep that communication open and know, then trust that God's going to take us through this together and protect your mind as well with the what ifs and,
I was pretty sad the day that we got the news, and I think I've put it in a separate compartment
for now
to deal with later.
Yeah.
And we're going through this weekend. I was just hoping to get through to the doctor on Friday.
I know.
And now the lady I needed to speak to, she's off on Fridays. So I'm like, it's a long weekend to have this on our minds and not have the next step in front of us. But
yes.
I mean, maybe it's a time for reflection. I don't know, but it's tough. It's going to be tough. We know valleys. We know valleys a lot. We've been through valleys. And we just came off a mountaintop.
We did. We were saying how he's flourishing and he's doing so great. And he is.
Yes.
But you can't deny that you sink into a valley when you're told that your child has abnormal brain activity and it's in a whole new area and we have zero clue why. Mm-hmm. And we really don't even know what we're going to do. And now his MRI is scheduled for the 25th of February. So for those of you who are listening prior to that date, if you would please put Bryce on your prayer list. Please put his doctor, his medical team. He has 2 doctors. So we're dealing with his neurologist, and we're also still under the care of the autism doctor that is going to get this news and going to have to make decisions based on this news. We're praying for wisdom for both of them.
And clarity.
And we're praying for Chris and I as the parents, to have wisdom and clarity. And just like when I had the instinct back in the summer to pursue this, I want that to remain very clear, like what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do. Yes, you trust and you have faith, but you also have to take action as well. And sometimes, so we just got to pray for that clarity and that wisdom and the right balance and strength, because we're going to need strength for each other. And when one's down, and we've gone through this before, when one's feeling extra sad, let the other be there to hold that one. When I'm feeling sad, I need you to be there for me. When you're feeling sad, I need to be there for you. I need to let you have your Coca-Cola and make no issue of it.
And we also need to know that God really has us in his right hand.
And he does.
Both of us. So
he does. And we'll have to remind each other of that on those moments. We may...
God has a plan here, and he's
does.
working his plan. And we just have to follow his guidance.
We do. And we may continue to get some more surprise. In fact, I'm preparing myself that there could be more surprises because we just don't know what's going on.
Know.
But that's okay. I feel like this was the blind side. So it's like when you get the first punch, you might be prepared that another punch might be coming. That punch I really didn't see coming. So I was a little blindsided on that one. I can prepare myself a little bit more that we definitely don't have all the answers right now, and we hope to get some more. But the answer I do have is that God's going to carry us through this, and we're going to be okay. And Bryce is going to be okay. And that boy is so happy.
And he's so
and
loved.
we want to keep him happy. He's so loved.
For those of you that have commented on his post, we just thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for those who are already praying for us. We really appreciate that.
We do. And those who have called me and prayed with me and reached out to me, you know who you are, and I'm so grateful. I will share that we have not told Bryce about the test results. And the reason why is he understands enough that this would give him further anxiety.
Right.
In fact, when the morning we were having it, he was like, ooh. And we made it fun. By the way, if you haven't checked out our YouTube video, Bryce did his first hotel tour. So let me just say, that was a lot of fun, and you should go check it out.
The sound, you know.
Well, Chris is our audio technician, but listen, he had a lot of fun.
We'll do better next time.
It's on the Parenting Autism YouTube channel, and we did that on Sunday night. We live a couple of hours from where the neurologist is.
Yeah, it's so much
So
fun.
we went up to Orlando area. We got a hotel. We told him he could do the tour, and he was so excited to do his own for the first time. We try to make life fun around our obstacles. So we knew, that the next day would be his EEG, and he was nervous. And we're like, well, why are you scared? You just did it a couple weeks ago. It didn't hurt, did it? No. And I said, well, what are you scared of? And this is exactly what he told me. I'm scared that they're going to find something else wrong with my brain.
Something wrong with my brain.
Something else wrong with my brain.
Oh, something else wrong.
Because he knows that he had the bleed.
Yeah. That's true.
And so we told him, oh, no, buddy, don't worry about that. You're going to get 100%. You're going to pass this test with no problem. We believed it when we said it, right? And I don't want him to think that he didn't get 100. And thankfully, he has not asked us about any test results, because I won't lie to him. But he hasn't asked us, and that's great. That's God not bringing it to his mind. We've moved on. Obviously, if he has to go back and have more, he's going to ask us some questions. But we are really honest with him. Like when we give him his supplements and stuff, we tell him what they're for. If they're for his poops, he knows they're for his poops. If they're for his brain, it's for his brain. So if he has to get new medicine, which is very likely, we'll be telling him, you're taking this to help your brain, and that's okay. I think he can deal with that.
We've talked about, eventually it's going to come out to him, whether he's at a doctor's appointment with us discussing what's happening next or what. He's eventually going to get it. And
when he does,
we'll
cross that bridge. Like I was telling you, when we went out to dinner last night, he was able to stay with my parents so we could have a couple hours alone. And he knows he has autism because he hears us talk about it. He knows the word. It's hard for me to describe it to other people, much less to Bryce. But he knows, that he has autism. So the other night, we had rented this video that I don't recommend to anybody. And it was about a family's journey with autism. Yeah. And we were watching, and Bryce was in the tub, and he's like, what are you watching? Because he has that fear of missing out thing. So I was like, what are you watching? We're like, we're watching a movie. What's it about? And you said, it's about a little boy with autism. And there was a pause, and he said, is it about me? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, it's not about you, buddy. It's about somebody else. Go ahead, do your shampoo. And we do your shampoo. Yeah. But when he said that, I thought he definitely connects that word to himself, but he doesn't really understand what that means. But we always speak words of life over him and tell him what, how he's blessed, and he has a beautiful brain and all of those things. So we'll just continue to do that. We'll walk through this together, but we wanted to get on here today just for a few moments to share what's going on, to ask for your prayers for our family as we go through this. And then we'll be back again later to share like the more fun things, like how we're teaching him independence. And we have a lot of cool things on that and tools. But today is really about just this headline and reaching out to our parenting autism family for love and support and prayers at this time.
And we'll be taking you through this with us step by step. We'll give you updates as they come in, and we'll go from there.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, that's a wrap for this show, and have a great week ahead, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Okay, bye.
Right, bye.